Hi, welcome to Edward Box Guitar Tuition. So I've got another classic album inspection. Remember, share and subscribe if you enjoy these. So today, on this day, July 25th, 1986, that's 35 years ago, Loudness released their sixth studio album, Lightning Strikes. So this built on the success in the US of the Thunder in the East album that made number 74. Prior to that, Loudness did the album Disillusion, and they actually re-recorded the vocals with English lyrics, and that was licensed to the Music for Nations label in Europe. I'm not sure what it did about US release. Prior to that, they'd been Born from the Ashes of a band called Lazy, and released albums in 1981, the debut, which was the Birthday Eve, and then there was Devil Soldier and Law of Devil's Land. So when you listen back to those albums, you know, they're pretty early, formed the sound pretty early on. They've kind of got Ozzy Osbourne style riffing, you know, Akira Takasaki's guitar work it comes to the fore. Bassing, they're pretty heavy, they're pretty metal, you know. A lot of people kind of, you know, always tended to take the mickey out of them back in the day because they sung English lyrics but in a Japanese accent. But I think that's what makes them stand out. There's a real sort of quirkiness there. So let's just have a closer look at this album. Your members are Akira Takasaki, Masayoshi Yamashita on bass on this album, Minoru Nihara, and Muntaka Higuchi. He's dead now, sadly. So that's like the classic Loudness lineup. I'm just looking over, it's just my computer screen. But this album, yeah, it was released in Japan on March 24th, but in the US it was July 25th, so I'm sort of basing it, I'm guessing it came out in the UK around that time. It was recorded December 1985 to February 86 at Sadiq Studios and Take One Studios in Tokyo, Japan. So quite interesting, Max Norman, the producer's obviously gone out there to record this. So Max Norman's a producer, sometimes can blow a little hot and cold for me, but on this one, like Lynch Mob's Wicked Sensation and Coney Hatch's Friction, he blows hot, incredibly hot, because I think it's a fantastic sounding record. So he actually produced Thunder in the East, and Thunder in the East opened with a track called Crazy Nights. Obviously we'll do an anniversary video of that when it's time. But Crazy Nights just got one of the great rhythm guitar sounds of its day, and like pretty much, you know, it's that old thing, the tones in the finger. So Akira Takasaki was obviously someone who can dial in a tone and get the most out of it. So I'd say in some ways, you know, Crazy Nights, that Loudness never had a better sounding track than that. I just feel the songline's a bit more consistent on this album. So yeah, this album actually made number 64 in the US, so it kind of went 10 places better. I think the reason for that is they did kind of go even more commercial on the sound, and it opens, the US version opens with the track Let It Go. So this is a kind of Van Halen-y type riff, quite interesting because Akira Takasaki just plays the riff on the G and the B strings. You know, normally guitarists tend to anchor those kind of riffs with like a lower pedal tone, but it's really good, really well produced, really good harmony solo. There's a really cool breakdown after the solo, and it actually has almost a digital cut now, you know, where it just goes to dead silence. I'm not sure how Max Norman's done it, whether it's been done digitally somehow with early digital technology. He did exploit that on the Lynch Mob album Wicked Sensation back 89-90. Or maybe he's just used some kind of mute function on the desk, but it's really cool. I think this album, yeah, it's a really good sounding record. The guitars sound mega. It's got a bottom end. The bottom end's a bit woofy, and the drum sound, you know, it's big and sounds a little woofy, but it's still a really good sounding record for the time, and it's right up there with anything released around this time. And on this track, it's you know, it's catchy. Yeah, you've got to get used to the Japanese pronunciation in the words, but like I say, that's what makes it kind of quirky and stand out. And the band bring in sort of influences of their homeland, you know, occasionally, and that just gives them a unique spin. You know, they weren't just a Japanese band trying to generically copy American and British bands. So track 2 is one of my favourites, called Dark Desire. When this opens up, Akira Takasaki plays like a lead line on the B and high E, kind of a little bit bluesy, using the open E blues scale. And you can really hear the bottom end on the sound, you know, the punch he's got. And then he's got a really good, powerful groove, great drumming. The drummer of Loudness is very very good. The bass is tight, you know. These are crack squad of musicians to me. and the vocal range is always really good. So it's got a great intro solo. After every chorus on this track, it has really cool lead breaks. Really good chorus, good rhythm parts, and the bridge guitar parts are great. It's also got one of my favourite opening lines on 80s metal, which is all night long, shout it out, die for rock and roll. Awesome. So I love Dark Desire. So the next track, 1,000 Eyes, so there's a little story with this. This is what introduced me to Akira Takasaki. So I'd kind of read about the album and stuff, and I was contemplating buying it. So I didn't get it the sort of week it came out. I actually got it early in '87, I believe. There was something on TV. It was like an air guitar contest on some show. I can't remember what it was. And people were going up playing air guitar, and it said, who they were playing to, and then this guy got up and started ripping his air guitar, and it was Loudness, and it was the solo to 1,000 Eyes. What's interesting, when I finally heard the track, it's kind of the solo section's kind of quite sort of different to the main riff, but Akira pulls out one of his top kind of Jakey Lee, Randy Rhoads type riffs with open string pull-offs on this, and this is similar to a couple of tracks off the Thunder in the East album. It's a great sounding track, really, really good, brilliant guitar solo, great fade out solo, really good chorus. All the choruses are well structured on this, all the bridges. The songs are really well put together. The album's only 39 minutes, so all the tracks are just over 4 minutes bar a couple, and then there's a more epic track which we'll come to. And then there's Face to Face, so this is a fast, up-tempo track, really cool sort of call and response solo. Kira cuts loose on this. Probably not as good as the previous 3 tracks, but it's still really good. So right off the bat, it's just like really, it's strong. Strong songwriting, strong playing, really great production, and brilliant guitar playing by Akira Takasaki. Just look on the screen here, obviously the Japanese title of this was Shadows of War. And the running order was different, it kind of flipped. So side 1 finishes the track, Who Knows. This is quite a strange track. It's kind of jolly, it's got a little bit, sometimes a bit of Rush influence comes through on Loudness. I don't dislike this track, but I prefer the sort of, the commercial metal of the previous ones. It's quite an interesting track. So I mentioned before about Shadows of War, so side 2 opens with the track Ashes in the Sky. So the lyric in this is Shadows of War, and then that's the title of the track for the Japanese version. Whether they recorded their vocals in lyrics in Japanese on that, I'm guessing they might have done. So obviously, this is the epic track on the album. This is like maybe Loudness's masterpiece. It's got an amazing intro, 2-handed tapping intro by Akira, where he's kind of tapping across the strings on a clean sound, but it's got, you can feel a sort of Japanese heritage and influence coming through in the sound. It's got a great intro, a really clever mixing and production by Max Norman, and when the riff comes in, the guitar sounds absolutely fantastic, and again the bottom end and the drums, the bass, they're interlocking brilliantly live. This is a great track, really, really, really good. Got a fantastic solo with a great outro solo, Kira let to rip, and it's really epic. Got a really cool melody in that. I think it's a classic. I really do. Next track's Black Star Oblivion. Great title. This is like a fast track. It's like Face to Face, the previous track, track 4. This is the one. Sorry, I made a little error for. This is where Akira kind of trades off with himself and does a harmony thing. So Akira Takasaki, what's his guitar playing like? I mentioned his rhythm playing. He's like Van Halen, Jakey Lee, Randy Rhoads, that kind of style. But he's got a great rhythm guitar sound. I'd put his rhythm guitar sound, his tone, his technique in the top 5 of all time, with basically Van Halen at the top, DeMartini, Latecro, having great rhythm guitar technique. Maybe Jakey Lee, although his sound on records not as great. But So this is, what sort of stuff do you do? So he uses a whammy bar a lot, dive bombs, he'll kind of sweep the whammy like Van Halen, sweep notes. He just kind of 2-handed tapping. I've got quite an interesting approach to that. He tends to do sort of 2-string arpeggios. He'll do a lot of slides, he'll do kind of diminished 7 arpeggios like Malmsteen. So he's touching bass with the sounds of the time. But he's got his own, like a lot of guitarists at that time, he's got his own approach. to the sounds and techniques of the time. I've had a criticism of Akira. His vibrato's a little thin compared to other guitarists of the era. He doesn't have that quality there. But then again, it's still quite individual. Like I said, you can hear the techniques of the time in his playing, but he's got his own approach. He sounds like Akira Takasaki. He's still the premier guitarist from Japan. Loudness is still the premier metal band to come out of the country. And it's an amazing achievement, I think. Akira, aside from having an amazing name, if you're going to be called a guitarist, Akira Takasaki's a fucking awesome name. So that's a really cool track. And then you've got Street Life Dream. This has got a really cool riff, chugging on the E. There's a good bit on it where the lyrics says, plays a hot guitar and Akira hits some harmonics. The lyrics are nonsense on the album generally. I think what Max Norman did was they must have translated the lyrics roughly and just come up with phrases that worked, and then they probably, imagine like the singer learned them sort of phonetically, and they did it that way. But it gives, like I say, it gives it a unique quality. Street Life Dream's got a really cool solo, cool tapping bit. Quite an interesting chorus actually. The chorus breaks down and is soft, so it predates Nirvana that way. The flip side of Nirvana, having the quiet loud, it goes loud quiet. Not that Loudness would be grunge or anything. And then the final track's called Complication. This has got some odd timings in it. I think it's got like bars of 7, bars of 5. I was trying to count it the other day. This is strange. Again, the Rush influence comes through. It's quite odd. I'm not totally sure if I like the track, but it's interesting, and it's got like a solo. Now, is it in 5, 4 time or 6 groups of 6? Not sure, but Akira almost does a slightly kind of fusion solo, and then it kind of kicks into something kind of more straight ahead rock, So it's never like the last track on side 1, which was Who Knows. It's never not interesting. So that's basically the album. It was their most successful album commercially at the time. Unfortunately, after this, they did an album called Hurricane Eyes, produced by Eddie Kramer. This charted much lower. But the mix was awful. I forget who mixed it, but Eddie Kramer. I've never really rated Eddie Kramer as a producer. It was more commercial, but the production just swamped it in reverb. I got it later on. I didn't get it at the time. I kind of had a brief flirtation with Loudness when I got this album, and then I heard other stuff later, and I kind of came back to it, listened to it, fresh when I was, older. But they did that. And that didn't do a lot for them, and then sadly they parted coming with this singer and got an American singer in, Mike Vasara, who later on sang with Malmsteen. Now he's a good singer, and they produced a good album in Soldier of Fortune, but the problem was when they got him in, once you put straight ahead American sort of power metal rock singing over their riffs, they lost that more of that quirkiness and that unique sound. They started to sound like other American bands, so that didn't work. And then obviously, hair and glam metal, 80s metal died a death, and then Loudness kind of went back to Japan really, and then released albums in Japan and reformed and stuff, and continued to be popular there. And it's only recently their albums have been starting to get released again worldwide, and they did an album, Rise to Glory, recently, so we've got the classic Loudness sound. So yeah, in summarising, a really, really cool band with a kind of unique take on the sort of metal of the time. A true great guitar player, particularly his rhythm guitar work. Akira Takasaki, let's say for that, he was right up there. And really good musician, good rhythm section, and a really good ability to craft, really cool songs. So yeah, that's Lightning Strikes. Loudness, 35 years old today. Hope you enjoyed that. Remember, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers.